Today we are breaking down the real estate market in Greater Cincinnati and what happened in 2025. And now we're already into January and we're already starting to get a feel for what this year might look like. And we're gonna give some projections there as well and what you can expect in 2026. But let's start out by breaking down the 2025 numbers. Now, we're gonna focus today's numbers on our four major counties in Cincinnati: Hamilton, Butler, Warren, and Claremont County. These are the numbers we're gonna focus on today. So let's start out. What did pricing do in 2025? Well, prices increased just over 5%, with the median home sale value being $310,000. Last year, we ended the year at $295,000. So we saw some nice appreciation in 2025. Now let's talk about the number of homes that sold. This number was up 3.3%. So more homes sold this year, and a lot of that had to do with more homes coming on the market. Now, we did have a little bit of a tale of two markets. We did see that frenzy in the first half of the year that we've historically seen, kind of short, low inventory, multiple offers, and I've got some examples of that. And then kind of the second half, we saw a little bit of a shift as more inventory was climbing, buyers had more choices. Days on market were actually getting a little bit more and growing, and that caused things to slow down for sellers in the second half of the year, but it did give some opportunity for buyers. So we're gonna hit on that. A good example of what happened last year is if I just take a look at the days on market month by month, you can get a good feel of what were those prime months. And we got back to more of a normal seasonality market than we've ever seen, right? When COVID happened, kind of got away from that seasonality, and we definitely fell back into more of your traditional seasonal trends. So when I look at days on market last year in January, the average days on market was 14, in February 7, and then March, April, May, June were all 4, right? Those were the lowest months. So on average, homes were only on the market for 4 days in those months. July went back up to 7, August to 8, and then September and October 10, November 12, and December 25, right? So that shows you that velocity of what the market was doing in those traditional spring months, and you call it your March through June had your shortest days on market. Those were the most active. Now, homes that sold within the first 30 days, so of the 17,275 homes, 73% of those homes sold within the first 30 days. And the average sale to list price ratio was over 100%. So what does that mean? If homes were priced well in those active months, we were seeing multiple offers. That's why the average sale to list price ratio was over 100% for the homes that sold in the first 30 months, which made up, as I said, over 73% of the homes in 2025. The overall average sale to list price ratio for the entire market for these four counties was 97.5% when you take into consideration whenever they sold. So over list price if they sold within the first day on average. So what does this mean? If you are a seller going into 2026, timing is gonna be very important. March through June are gonna be your best months to be on the market. And I would argue that even February through May are probably the best, because when closings actually happen, the data lags a month or two behind closing. So getting it on the market is gonna be super important to do it during that timeline if you're looking to maximize dollars. Once you start hitting July, that's when those days on market start to accumulate. And that's also when inventory starts to accumulate as well. And I've got some inventory numbers as well. So traditionally, very low inventory at the beginning of the year, under 2,000 homes for sale in January, under 2,000 homes in February, under 2,000 homes in March. April, it starts to get over 2,000, 2,144. It steadily climbs to July, 3,000. We get over 3,000 homes in July of active inventory in those 4 counties. And then it goes all the way up to the highest numbers, 3,412 in October. Because once we start to hit July, things tend to slow down a little bit more. We got vacations, people getting back into school. Therefore, the inventory starts to stack as new inventory is coming on the market and homes aren't selling quite as fast as those days on market accumulate. So very important time frame if you're a seller. I also think if you're a buyer, it's smart to make sure in 2026 you're getting your home search started early. I am expecting this spring to be another active market. I think we're gonna see appreciation, maybe not as much as we saw last year at 5.5%, but I think we're gonna see around 3% or so in appreciation. I think homes that are priced right and show well are gonna get into multiple offers. We're filming this in January. We listed 3 last week. 2 of the 3 went into multiple offers because there's not much inventory that's out on the market. So it is important, I think, for buyers to get out there early in their search, as I think it's gonna get competitive again. And then I think it will also in the second half of the year, that's when you're gonna get some of your bargains and things like that, which is kind of traditionally what happens. I also believe that inventory is going to continue to rise, and there's gonna be a lot more options for buyers out there this year. We're gonna see more inventory come to market. That's why I don't think we're gonna see the same amount of appreciation. And it really depends on what happens with rates. I think they're gonna stay pretty steady in the low 6s. We may see it tickle down under 6, but most of the year I think they're gonna stay in that low 6% range. So pretty steady on that front. And I feel that prices are gonna go up about 3%. We're gonna have more sales because there's gonna be more options. And the other thing I keep telling people, that one of the reasons why I feel like inventory is freeing up is the farther we are away from COVID, it's been hard for people to give up their sub 3% interest rate, but life happens. And the farther we get away, babies are being born, people need more space. Kids are moving out of the house and people want to downsize. So life moves on and life changes, and people are making those life changes. The further we are away from COVID, and people aren't hanging on to that interest rate as much as they were before, and especially with rates down in the low 6s versus January of last year, they started at 7%. So to recap, 2026, here's what I think we're gonna see. I think we're gonna see more sales as more inventory becomes available. People that are locked into those low interest rates, the further we get away from COVID, the more life moves on. People are having babies, kids are out of college now, and it's just them and time to sell. There's different life moments that happen the further we get away, and people are less likely to hold on to that low interest rate and make a move for what makes sense for their family. Rates are normalizing around 6%. We feel like we're gonna be there for most of the year in that low 6%. We may see them dip under 6, but most of the year, you're gonna probably see them right around in that low 6% range from what all indications are. I think demand will be there from buyers. There's a lot of pent-up demand. So we are gonna have more sales, and we're gonna have a slight uptick in appreciation of 3%. So not quite, I think, what we've seen in the past. We're not gonna be as frenzied as the market has been. I still think homes that show well, that are priced right, are gonna get into competitive offers, but it won't be quite as wild as the years we've seen in the past. The most important thing is to have a plan if you're looking to buy or sell. I tell people there's no time is too early to start your plan. And in particular this year, sellers, it's gonna be very important to hit those peak months, especially if you're in a market that's very school district driven. And for buyers, I think it's great to really have a plan in place. Start your search earlier than you think, because those spring months, when most people want to go out and look, are going to be a little bit competitive again, but there will be more options for you. For more great information just like this and market updates, please make sure you like and subscribe our channel. We'd love to hear from you and see what you think the market has in store in 2026.